And welcome back. This is your man Warrior. This is another patron roster review. This is Skilwar, and Skilwar is wanting to know about mods, kind of how to get them. Really, like struggling with getting good mods. You know, ships arena, regular arena, different teams for the Sith raid, Zetas, a couple of Zetas that he's got saved up, wants to know kind of where to put them. And is there any gaps in his ranks of characters that maybe he's missing a character here or a character there? And we'll start off really quick by mods, because mods is actually a very fast topic, and that is you're going to have to really buy them. At the end of the day, you can farm them all the time, but RNG is going to play a devil for you and not going to let you drop anything good. And so what you're going to have to do, and this is tough, really, really tough, is you're going to have to, I know you're a Dolphin, you've been playing for over 2 years, so you should have some okay mods, but you're going to have to save up like 10 to 15 million in credits and keep them for buying good mods out of the store. I find probably 3 to 5, easily 3 to 5 a week that buy, and then when I roll them to their 9 or their 12, their speed rolls and I get a 10 or better. 10 or better is really what I'm looking for, and you should be able to find at least one a day or so out of the store. Make sure to check the store during all the resets and buy them that way. That's actually the best way. Now, for anyone that doesn't have credits, they're going to say that's impossible. And so that is why when you get your credit heist, you want to keep it like a savings account until, and only use that amount of money towards other stuff. Pretend like you don't have it when you're trying to do other things in the game. So if you want to level up another character, just tell yourself you can't, because you need those for mod purchases, because inevitably you're going to need to get those. Now, I know sometimes you spend money on a good mod and then it doesn't roll. So what I'm going to tell you is how I look. First, you're going to want to make sure the mod you're buying is gold, because it's going to have the most opportunity to roll, 4 roll attempts. 2, you're going to want it to have a 5 or higher on the actual initial speed. So it will either say 5 or 6. So 5 dot gold and showing 5 or 6 secondary speed. And then lastly, make sure the primary stat makes sense. If it's a health on a triangle, don't buy it. But if it's a critical damage or a critical chance on a triangle, then that makes sense, then buy it. Or if it's like a potency on a cross, or if it is protection on a cross, or offense on a cross, those make sense for the cross, and that would make sense then to purchase that. They don't always roll, and you are going to lose some credits no matter what, but when you roll them, don't roll them all the way to 15. That takes about 500,000 credits. Only roll it to the 12, which is about 140,000 credits, 120,000 credits, something like that. So that way you can minimize your damage if in fact the 5 never rolls up into anything else. But statistically, you should get at least 1 roll, making it a 10 to 12 dot mod, or 10 to 12 speed mod, excuse me, and that should help you out. Now, as far as arena goes, I know why you've got this team. It's really cool, actually. Top 50 with this team is awesome, because you got an Akbar lead. Like, who uses Akbar in arena? So that's awesome. I don't really want to tell you to change anything, but I am going to give you a couple alternatives that you could go ahead and run and see what you think. The first alternative is very similar to what you have, except for instead of Akbar, it would be CLS lead. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking Akbar gives so many bonus attacks. Why would I want to take him out? Well, he does do cleansing and bonus attacks and all sorts of good stuff, but at the end of the day, he's kind of like Rex, very, very squishy. And at the end of the day, with CLS as the leader, you're going to get a ton of bonus attacks because of all of the countering that the team will do. So in a sense, CLS in the lead slot almost acts like you have an Akbar because of all the countering that's added to this team that otherwise wouldn't be there with Akbar in the lead. So I know with your Yoda, that's why Akbar and Yoda work really well together. But I would just, again, a suggestion, put CLS in the lead, R2-D2 like you have now, of course your Han Solo, General Kenobi, and then I would throw Thrawn in that 5th slot, so that way you can, in R2-D2 obviously, on this team, because R2-D2 and Thrawn are going to give you some utility you absolutely need from the team that you currently don't have. You have a really high damage team that's protected with General Kenobi, but high damage is great on offense, not as good on defense. The other option you could go to, surprisingly, I was looking at your stuff and I was like, what? Emperor Palpatine, Zeta lead, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Darth Vader, Darth Nihilus. Like, you've got the workings of everything you would ever need here except for Sion. So I look down and I notice you actually have Sion and you have him 4-star gear 9. Now, the only thing you need to make Sion Arena viable is take him from 9 to 11. That's only 2 gear levels. It's doable as a Dolphin, as long as you're very strategic with gear. And the Zeta on Lord of Pain. And you asked me about Zetas. You have a couple. So if you were going to go this Emperor Palpatine-led team route, I would recommend you gear this guy up and get Lord of Pain unique Zeta, and also Zeta, the Lord of Hunger unique on Darth Nihilus. Now, again, your Sion's not ready yet, so you want to make sure that you gear him up first to gear 11. But at gear 11, 4-star, as long as you make him tanky, he's going to be just fine. Put a little speed on him, put a lot of protection on him, and then Lord of Hunger and Lord of Pain. Those 2 Zetas would be the 2 I would recommend if you chose to go with this Empire team. Now, I know that that's not necessarily the route you're going to go. And so if you stay light side, you can stay with the team you have now, or you could switch it and have CLS, R2, Thrawn, Han Solo, and General Kenobi. If you do that, you could always Zeta CLS's leadership. So that's something that if you put CLS in, obviously, the leadership spot, like I suggest, you could put Rebel Maneuver Zeta on him. It's an excellent Zeta that provides turn meter for the team, provided they're Rebels. And so because you're running a mostly Rebel squad, or I'm suggesting a mostly Rebel squad, that would really benefit the team as well. You could also do his second Zeta or his first unique Zeta, and it would be a benefit for this team as well. Now, the other Zeta option would actually come out of First Order, and I would actually recommend Kylo Ren Unmasked. And that is one of those teams that I'm recommending that you work on, because this team is 7 stars, and you have them gear 8 average, and you've got Kylo Ren Unmasked. And so this is a great defensive team for territory wars. You can use it for the Sith raid, and they're really great, but it really does all kind of hinge off of Kylo Ren Unmasked being his leadership Zeta, and then of course gearing them up. Now, I know gear takes some time, especially as a Dolphin, but it's not the end of the world, and you're going to be developing somebody. So this is a really, really great team to kind of focus in on. Now, we're going to go back to First Order in a second, but I want to finish off. We've talked about your arena. We've kind of talked about mods, and we've talked about your Zeta opportunities. So let's really quick go into ships. And when I look at ships, I see you're using kind of your strongest ships, and I get it, because you got to use what you have. And, you know, top 200, you're fine with that. But I know you want to do better. And so when I look, I also see some problems with ships, such as First Order TIE Fighter and the Imperial TIE Fighter are, you know, under-geared characters, which is why they're not doing so well for you. So these are both characters you want to focus on. Now, the good news is the Imperial TIE Pilot, he is a really fast gear. He's one of the easiest gears in the game, so you should be able to bump him up really fast and then finish his ship off, get that 7th star. As far as First Order TIE Fighter, what's cool is he kind of falls in line with what I just suggested, which is working on First Order. And if you work on him as a part of that First Order team, you will do 2 birds, 1 stone. You'll be able to knock him out in that team, and you'll be able to have him as your pilot for this First Order ship, which is the highest damage dealing ship in the game, other than maybe Kylo Ren Unmasked's ship that he has, which is the TIE Silencer. And so I would also continue developing the TIE Silencer and to continue to get him leveled up. And actually, for your top 5, you would have Chimera, TIE Advanced, TIE Reaper, which you're doing both of those now, and Biggs, which you're doing now. But instead of the 2 ships you're using now, which is the Scimitar and Wedge, I would pull them out, and I would put in these 2, the TIE Fighters, the Imperial TIE Fighter and First Order TIE Pilot. Now, they're not ready yet, so don't do this yet, but get them ready. And then when they're ready, you'll put the Scimitar in your first backup slot, the TIE Silencer in the 2nd slot, and then Poe Dameron's X-Wing in the 3rd slot. And you're going to want to finish Poe's ship off. It's at 5 stars. Get it to 7. Poe's ship's the fastest in the game. TIE Silencer's in the high 180s, super fast and can stun. Also, the TIE Silencer is the literal highest damage dealing ship in the game, although you may not always realize it in the game, because it's very difficult to set up most of the time because of RNG. But it is possible to hit for well over 100K consistently with the TIE Silencers special. And so it's a really great backup to come in, give it advantage, stun somebody, give it advantage, and then, second shot, hit somebody for 110 or 120. It's very easy to do. So definitely those are the three I'd recommend for ships. Otherwise, you just need to keep developing the crew members for all of these ships. So if they're a crew member to a ship in the top 5 ships that I've suggested, which is TIE Advanced, TIE Reaper, but obviously for TIE Reaper, you're going to want the Shore Trooper and Death Trooper finished off. And then for the Imperial TIE Fighter and First Order TIE Pilot, like I mentioned, and then obviously take Biggs to Gear 12 as well. So continue to develop those crew members. Now for the Sith Raid, obviously you're going to have to continue to develop to get towards your JTR team for that Phase 1 team. So you got to finish your smugglers off, the Veteran Han Smuggler and Chewie. But until then, you could run a hybrid Rebels team for Phase 1. Just make sure you have a healer in there. Chirrut Imwe works well as well to be in there for cleansing, dispelling, and Admiral Akbar works really well in there. And you could also use Commander Luke, Han Solo, and R2-D2. But I will tell you, this Rebels team is a placeholder until you can get to using your Jedi Training Raid team, which is really the best team for Phase 1. For Phase 2, I would use basically the arena team that I suggested. The arena team that I suggested was Emperor Palpatine, Grand Admiral Thrawn, Darth Vader. You could probably throw in, TIE Fighter Pilot, Shore Trooper, et cetera, et cetera. But I would definitely blend it. You could blend it with Sith, and you could do Darth Nihilus, Darth Sion if you end up getting Darth Nihilus's Zeta. Darth Sion, you would have to buy his stuff out of the packs for now, or out of the shipments. They are doing it out of shipments for crystals. So if you're very strategic, just buying with your winnings, with your crystal winnings, you could use him. Otherwise, you could plug in Shore Trooper as a healer for that team. Shore Trooper works well. But the Empire, or kind of the arena team I suggested earlier, would be for Phase 2. For Phase 3, I actually would recommend the Chex Mix team, but you don't have it ready yet. And what Chex Mix is basically the CLS, Han Solo, Chirrut team that I kind of suggested in Phase 1. You would bring those 3 over with POW and Death Trooper. And you have POW 7 stars, surprisingly, but you don't have the Death Trooper. We're staring right at him, and he's 4 stars. That's not enough, obviously, to run in Heroic. You got to have 7 stars. So in the meantime, you can run Phase 3 until Chex Mix is ready. But either way, you're going to have to get Death Trooper up. He is a #1 priority for you on the stars and gear, but more specifically the stars, because you can't use him in the Imperial Troopers lineup, and you can't use him in the Chex Mix lineup. And both lineups for Phase 3 really need him for them to work and work effectively. So he's important for ships. He's important for dark side territory battles, territory wars, for the Sith Raid. I mean, really, Death Trooper is a top 10 dark side character in the game. He really is. So make sure that you get him highest priority and work him out. And for Phase 4, obviously, Night Sisters are there. That is a team that you should definitely work on. You're already almost there with the team. You've got 3 out of the 5, and now they've become farmable. Although the farming on hard nodes is going to take a while. So with that, you're going to have to take a look at other possible teams other than Night Sisters, such as your Phoenix Squad, which is 7 stars. It's not going to do much, but it's something you can throw and get a few 100,000 damage with this team. And then also First Order. Now, I have suggested this earlier in your video as a possible Zeta, which is Kylo Ren unmasked. And then also remember First Order TIE Pilot for ships. So this is a team I would highly recommend you make the #1 priority. Death Trooper and First Order, those are 2 sets of characters that I would really highly recommend, with the Death Trooper being in the set of characters, which is your ship pilots that you'll want to focus on, and then First Order being the other set. And so between both sets, you're looking at about 8 to 10 characters to gear and star. I think you'll be just fine. Just hyper focus on only those characters, and you'll do well. First Order does well in territory wars as well, not just the Sith Raid. So Skilwar, you're doing really well. It's a fun team that you're running. In fact, if you don't change anything in your arena, that's fine because you're having a good time. I think this team you have is probably super fun on offense. So obviously, if arena rank isn't super important to you, don't worry about my suggestions. But I am pretty proud of you. You're doing really, really well for a small dolphin. After 2 years, you're over the 2 million galactic power mark. So good for you on that. Not many gaps in your stuff. Just really focus on First Order and also Death Trooper, along with your other crew members for ships. As always, if you have any questions, hit me up. and keep your gaming on. Warrior out.